the impact initiative. So our end goal is for every startup, we want to help them visualize the impact. So all the community in KSCP can visualize what they are doing, and the world can see what you are doing. And we know like you guys are putting a lot of effort into this. That's why we're starting this discussion. So this will be an initial discussion with you to know the problem you are solving, to know the team, know about you. So I will start asking you like to introduce your team, what you are doing at KSCP, and then I will move to the problem you are solving. So you can introduce yourselves, what you are doing at Sports Vector, how you are contributing to the end goal of Sports Vector. We can start with you.
Hi guys, my name is Ahmed, and I'm part of the marketing team with Leandre, my coworker. We joined 2 weeks ago, and the main thing we're focusing on is investments and outreach. So we have a bunch of verticals. There's X, there's Fire, there's strategy.
Yeah.
They'll be able to tell you more about that in detail. But what we focus on is making it marketable, easy to understand, and increasing equity between sports teams eventually.
How you imagine success? You are doing daily marketing activities.
Yes.
How do you define your success?
So it depends on the platform. So we're doing marketing and sales. Sometimes we go on sales calls and meetings, try to actually pitch the product and hopefully get a quote or get a sale.
Okay.
Apart from that, on Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn, we're looking at comments, likes, reposts, just any sort of engagement so we can help create that brand equity and have that sort of community, and then hopefully through that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
On to me now.
If you have anything new, if you want to add anything to marketing, you can.
Well, I think Ahmed pretty much covered it in detail, but I would add that the way we define our success really is a lot of the times with how the public view our efforts in regarding exposing the product, you know, how well we can communicate the problems that we're trying to solve and stuff like that. So based on how people react to, you know, what we explain to them about criteria and stuff like that, we can, you know, gauge their
And
reaction.
do you have a target for the number of people you like to communicate with? Or
On a weekly
by the end of this
basis,
year, by the end of this year,
by the end of the year,
what's the number you put for yourself to reach?
I don't think we haven't discussed it.
No target so far. That's fine. But,
Yeah, we haven't. We are right now doing it by the end of the week.
Oh,
So
you're doing
depending
it.
on different like sales or Instagram, for example, if we reach 5,000 views and we get at least like a set amount of likes, then we feel like that video is done better than the other one.
Okay, that's good. Sam, are you enjoying working with Sports Vector? Do you like the boss? Do you like?
Yeah.
What's your role at Sports Vector? What value you bring to the team?
Good question. I mean, I started this company a year ago, and back then I was responsible for everything. We're talking about sales, fundraising, marketing, a lot of things. But over time, what I've done is, even though I'm accountable for everything, I'm not responsible for everything anymore. So we've gone through a lot of people, we've gone through a lot of interviews, met a lot of people, and then finally came up with the team you see on stage today. It's not been easy, it's been a lot of work. And, these guys will tell you how much of a pain it is for them to deal with me as well, to begin with. But I'm glad to have them on board, and it's fun. Wakes me up every morning, gives me purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you compare your company before and after, how would you describe it?
Who specifically are we talking about?
Your whole team. all of this team.
Yeah, I mean, like,
What was their impact?
so we have this thing on our page. It's called like our 9 ways of playing, right? So obviously we're a lot faster now because we have the people around it. Just this morning we have a product group on WhatsApp, and I said like what Cricket Strategizer used to be called back then looked like then, and what it looks like now. It's like 100x better. You know, we had a product 5 months ago. Now we have 8 products, right? And that's like a huge stretch. I don't think any startup in this country is going as fast as we are. Sure, they might be doing better in terms of numbers, in terms of things, but in terms of tech speed, I don't think anyone beats
So
it.
speed is important for you.
Speed is extremely important in this market. Like every single day, something is being launched, something has been built. So we're not trying to go at the speed of Qatar. We're trying to go at the speed of San Francisco, and that's basically our benchmark in terms of that, right? Yeah.
So I'm Peter. I don't know how to describe myself. I do a lot of things behind the scenes, so other than my main role, which is full stack engineering. So I'm in charge of the first platform we did, which I just mentioned, the Planner platform. So when I did see how old, like the old one, how it looked, I'm like crazy how much has changed, how many things we've added. On top of that, I also handle a lot of the cloud related tasks. So for all across all projects, if anybody has a need for cloud resources or needs help like identifying, oh, how do I do this within this specific platform, they can go immediately ask and I'm like, okay, you can do this or I can do this, set it up for you, and then you work from there. And from time to time, at random 2 a.m., 1 a.m., me and Sad are talking about other potential things we could be doing. And when there are startup programs that I see online for things that could help us, like things we can use within our products within the company, I usually apply. And then I tell Sad, I'm like, okay, we've applied for this, so we can use it for something.
So you apply, you do things and ask for forgiveness, or you take permission first?
Do things first before asking for forgiveness. If something breaks, my bad.
Okay, that's
But then
good.
fix it immediately.
That's what you do at PSP also. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Gabriel. I started in Sports Vector as a machine learning engineer for the company, and I started working at the curriculum planner, which actually I did some of the dirty work, which was my initiation in the company. But currently now I'm working at Quicker Strat, which is basically one of Saad's passion projects recently, and I started working in it in late February. So the idea is basically having real-time strategies and game insights while you're playing in the game itself. So remember, imagine the fact that you are on a game, and the only way that you have to adjust is post-game. You have post-game analysis when the game is done. So instead of it being post-game, why not adjust real-time? So given every ball that has been delivered, every strike of the ball, where the ball has landed, we take those into consideration to basically have the next steps in the game itself. And it's a very innovative way of having strategy in sport, which I don't think is possible until now.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Well said.
Now, question to Saad, like, I'd like to know about, like, who faces the company or something? Like, who is most impacted by the company or something?
So when you look at the market, there's two ways of looking at it. And the beauty of the panel is I can start talking about this. The one thing is what the market wants right now. And then the other thing as a startup that you can do is where you want the market to go, right? So as you're starting out, the first things you want to be doing is a mistake we made early on as well, is we went with the latter, where we started putting in things that we wanted the market to go towards. So we're talking about the planner, for example. Teams are still planning on whiteboards and Excel sheets, right? We really want to mitigate that and change that so that they have like a full platform of doing those things differently. Strat that Gabriel just mentioned, those are things which are, again, we're trying to pioneer. There are ideas of it, of course. Moneyball is the movie where everything is being built up from, but those things are there, and we really want the market to head that way. And we've seen that people are doing that. But at the same time, there are things that the market wants now, and the realization came about that a few months ago, where data, videos, and management. Those are the three things which sports are really looking at, and those are the things that are selling as we're going about it. But at the same time, we're not stopping in terms of developing these things. In-game predictors, what's the next best move, what do the people want, right? And then working in cricket, and of course with having a team across with you and the funds to basically experiment and have fun with it has been really, really instrumental in this doing this.
And like to make people shift from whiteboards to your platform, what other activities you are doing in Sports Vector beside the innovation that this team is doing? If there's anything else you thought about to shift this mindset of?
I think these two can start off, and then if there's something they've missed, I could probably add on to it.
I think when we joined, we're not like aiding on the marketing or whatever, but when I first joined, I was playing cricket with Saad, and I just randomly asked him, what do you do? And I asked for a job. That was how I got this. So I looked at the marketing team at first, and I couldn't understand what is it they actually do. I knew it because I spoke to him, but if I just landed on that page, I wouldn't be able to figure out what they do. So what me and Leandre did, where the main message we wanted to get across is clarity. So how actually does Strat, Planner, or X help teams. So if you look at our first two videos, we kind of make that relatable. So one of the features that X has that's really good is you can compare two players, same team, maybe slightly different strike rate, or they target different bowlers, then you can make a decision on who you want to pick. So that's kind of the angle we went for, and we're gonna go for the other verticals that we're working on right now.
And did you study like the impact of what would happen if your product would exist? Did you like put a model of what would happen without your solution?
Well, I was actually just gonna say it's funny that you bring that up because as a former cricketer, like on a parish level back in my native country, I would always be seeing firsthand how my coach for cricket would go about, scouting different players for our team and scouting the opposition for tournaments and stuff like that. And now, since coming to Qatar and like starting working with Sad in cricket here, I've realized how much easier it would have been back then if we had what we have now. Knowing the people in our area, like for tournaments and stuff like that, and yeah.
So like
Also, sorry, you're never gonna completely take the human element out of it. If you are a coach and you do like a certain player and their style, that bias is always gonna be there. We're not saying we're gonna completely eliminate that. What we're saying is we're gonna try and put a number to your decision. So, as Sati's mentioning Moneyball, the main goal or the main message of that movie is stop relying on feelings
Okay.
and actually see what each player is doing, have it backed up, and then get a result.
Part of your message is like give every people the chance to get fair
Equity,
fair
yeah.
treatment from the coaches.
Exactly. If you're performing well,
Yeah.
you have the numbers to back it up, and you say, for example, one player is good overall, but another is better in a certain condition or a certain pitch, and that matters a lot in cricket, right? One player can do very well in Australia, but they come to South Asia and they don't perform. So just having that's a problem with the Pakistan cricket board. You choose one player's average and you throw them everywhere. That's why we haven't won a World Cup for God knows how long.
Did you think about a metric to measure like how many players you empowered or give a chance to? Did you think something about it? Or not? Like through your platform, you're giving a chance to this amount of people, or you can forecast, but you can.
Look, here's the thing: when you're trying to become like there's no exact way to measure impact during a sports game, right? You cannot say, for example, you work with 5 teams in a tournament, right? Out of 8 teams, and those 5 happen to be the top 5. Do you say that because of you, those teams ended up being the top 5?
But how do you measure your success with this
Success
client?
is
How do you
measured.
measure it?
Success is measured by the number of users you have, the adoption rate that people are using you, how many people are shifting away from existing technologies and coming and starting using your own technology, and the churn rate. Of course, you really want really low churn rates when people starting adopting technologies.
How you measure the value you created for this?
Talking about from a
Can you
technology.
back it with data like through your platform they improved this? Do you have this system in place or not? Or you just think something to develop?
So again, like going back to sports, you can't really measure those things.
Like the outputs. That's
Yeah, because you can measure outcomes to some extent, but if
Yeah.
to do something like that, we're talking about like it's funny because this is my exam yesterday. It's like a full-fledged policy evaluation here,
Yeah.
where you need to have a case for people not using the products, but then they should be the equivalent of people who are using the product, and that's really going very scientific. It's the same thing as saying, okay, what's the impact of ChatGPT on people,
Yeah.
right? Like how do you really measure that? You really need to go down and do experiments. Sure, you can look at the amount of time people are saving, but that could be a metric.
So you have no time to do this right now.
It's not about a time. It's a
Not
question of
priority.
it's a question of recognizing if it's actually required at this stage,
Okay.
right? You shouldn't be thinking about a lot of things besides the 2 main things, which is building and selling really. Anything else is noise. So you should basically avoid those things.
Step back on to what he's saying. He said we're a year-old company, right? And I understand your point. You're saying how you actually measure it. I think
You can
maybe
just forecast is enough for now.
yeah, but also if we like look at it, inshallah, I don't know, 5-10 years
Yeah.
down the road, and we are in multiple clubs or in multiple leagues, then you can kind of do a before-after analysis. But for now, we're focusing on selling.
Yeah, for now, I mean, like I said, the forecast is enough. You can project what you can, who you can impact, who are the demographics, the population you can impact. If you can define, be specific about
So,
it.
so I can give you like a few technical aspects of impact. If you're defining impact as something there, if people did not have this versus the people who have this, what's the betterment for them and why do we exist in terms of benefits? we keep talking about it a lot as a joke. We're the only company that pays everyone, right? That itself is like a big impactful thing, at least in the Middle East. At least,
That's economic empowerment.
I don't know what it's called. I just call it basic human dignity. Right. So that's number one. Paying everyone and trying to pay them on time. That's number one. Right? So that's something we do in terms of impact. If you're talking about it. From a technological aspect, I mean, Peter can go more into it, but there's a lot of. We try to use open source models wherever it's possible. We try to do a lot of open source things. I'll let him
Yeah,
speak
so,
over that.
I mean, economically, it's hard to always rely on third-party things because these things stack up really quickly in terms of cost. But at least from the developer's point of view, the way we define our success within our group is every week we talk about. I think this is also part in marketing, but every week we sit down with each other as a group. We meet with everybody within the team. We talk about what we've done this week, and we always set goals for what we're planning to complete the following week. And our measure of success is did we actually get to complete all of the things we set out on time? Did we mess up anything along the way? And then from there we can see like, oh, this person has been progressing really well. That the speed of which they're doing their work has significantly improved, or the quality of their work has been more consistent to the point where we know that we can rely on them more often. So when it comes to, let's say, we encounter new issues, we get to see the development of our group, where we see like before when they were new, like maybe they wouldn't handle it the same way that they would now, since we've been very clear about this is what we're trying to do and when we're trying to do it. So let's try to stick to that.
Yeah, that's great. Saad, I agree with you. I don't want to impose on you like our impact. I want to hear from your side how do you see impact, and I want to support you in this journey.
What everyone has said here.
Yeah.
That's basically our impact. Making sure everyone's getting better day by day.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy. No one stresses out for the sake of distressing. Of course, there are gonna be moments where everyone's stressed
Yeah.
out. Everyone's improving, growing, learning. We're trying out new things. Development-wise, trying to optimize and go fast as much as we can. Adopting newer technologies. From a cricketing aspect, from a marketing aspect, from a market perspective, I should say, trying to be the pioneers of new things while at the same time being better than others in existing technologies. So it's just all of those things. But I don't know exactly how you define impact in terms of, but this is like how we define impact in terms of.
I can define it like how you are making someone else's life better, like a player, someone who watches sports.
Yeah.
This from this angle, like, you can think of it.
Saving them time, saving them money, saving them energy, and giving them more clarity on the field.
for the coaches or the club.
So to add on to this point, like for example with our planner platform, back then the logistics behind managing a team, not only planning and strategizing for the team, is a very tedious process. It involves a lot of, let's say, on the lower levels, it involves a lot of setting up groups and having to get in contact with different people at the same time. So one of the things we try to achieve, at least within the planner platform, is making this as easy as possible, where the coach only has to set up the plan, select who they want to take part in it. The players just get a notification on their phone saying, hey, you've been assigned, and these are the details, this is when, this is where, be there. And this makes it easy for players.
You try like doing a survey, asking these people how much time it takes to plan, and see how much time you use to what's that? I don't know. Do you do this or?
He's played cricket, he's played
Yeah, I don't
cricket.
really think that's-
I've kept him for a decade,
Yeah.
so I basically know how much time it takes.
We all know. I don't.
right?
That's the only, I don't really think it's necessary for certain actions to be put in place, like surveying and trying to gauge an impact. Because
So there's an
otherwise
opinion
it's
about
important.
surveys too. There's a book that says surveys are a lie. Because people don't put the answers that they're used to, they don't put the answers on their day-to-day basis, or rather what people would like to listen to, or rather what people would like to see, right? So surveys itself by definition is wrong. If you're really talking about these studies, then that's called an ethnographic study, where you're sitting down and you're spending time understanding how they're doing about things. But again, you don't do those things at the start. Your focus is again on the two core tenets, which is building and selling. And if you're doing a good job at them, you just double down and you keep growing.
So you don't see a value for your company to communicate the value behind the.
We do, and that's where the marketing aspect comes in, right? So
Yeah.
building and selling. When you're selling, you need to sell your market, you need to sell your impact.
Okay.
If you don't sell your impact, people ain't gonna buy you.
So what data you have in place like for this data? Which type of data you have in mind? To be on your website, for everyone to see it, what you have in mind? But you said they are working on it, but to sell this data, to sell it to people.
So for example, like if you're talking about specific data, like Cricket X has how many number of balls we have in terms of data analysis.
Okay.
What kind of tournaments do we cover? What kind of support can we give to the teams? Is it coaching?
Yeah.
Is it uplifting the talent? All of those things are
Yeah.
there. But at the same time, we need to recognize that early on, a lot of people are not satisfied by numbers. They're rather satisfied by the features that they want.
Yeah.
So what we're selling to them is what solves their problem. And their problem is not a number. Their problem is the issue that they've been facing for a long time. So, right, so if I was speaking to a franchise team and I tell them, okay, we have 2,364,532 balls, they don't care.
Yeah, okay.
All they care about is we have data, okay, from when? 2025, balls, we'll do it. So you don't really want to go into those many degrees in terms of analysis early on. I don't think any company, even in San Francisco, does that. And
Okay.
SF should be the benchmark in terms of tech companies.
Yeah.
Anything else again? I just keep going back to results.
And I think another thing that the reason why at least we didn't consider this early on to look at how customers feel about the current market is we're at an advantage where Saad and a majority of the team have a background in the things that we're building for. So everybody has taken some sort of interaction with the sport they're building for. So let's say for cricket, Saad has been deeply rooted in the game for a very long time. So he's been seeing this firsthand, the different issues that we've been trying to solve for. And I think the same is across the board. Everybody has seen these types of issues as this is where our experiences come in, where we've seen this firsthand that, yeah, management is hard, planning takes a lot of time, and this is something that should be common across different teams through different stages of them as a team.
Also, just to add on to that, I think one boost that we do get is that they have made sales, or we do have reviews from products which are on some of the websites, or even if we go pitch something, right, and someone's like, okay, let's actually see what you're doing. I think that means we're doing something impactful, because otherwise it would just be, no, we've seen this, we don't need this, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
But you know, if we're going to people and we have ex-Qatar cricket captains commenting on our thing, or South African women cricket players saying this is nice,
Yeah.
we kind of get that motivation, like, okay, we're doing something worth our while.
Yeah, I agree with you, but Tashma, I wanted to ask you, like, by the end of this year, how many like clubs you are targeting, how many coaches, how many, like, do you have a specified number? For?
We don't have this club, sorry.
Like a target for you, you want, like, that's your milestone. Like,
Look, I can tell you where I want to be in 5 years. Right? What I cannot tell you for exactly is how many clubs we want to target, because the more the merrier. You're right.
Our mindset right now is
we're gonna
growth.
try to do as many as possible, but the big dream of sports, like at least in my head, is in 5 years' time, international teams during the World Cup are using our technology,
Yeah.
and they're crediting their victories because of what they've used from us. Right? Those are the things across sports. I'm not just talking about cricket.
Yeah.
Right? But I really want to get there. We really want to get there. But then again, in terms of exact numbers early on, if you go to ChatGPT and you ask how many users do you want, they're gonna be like as many as you want, as many as we can, right? So we want our systems to crush. That shows that we've reached a stage that we can need more developers so that we can go faster. So there's no real number. The more the merrier. We're just gonna push for as many as we can.
like that's your number. There's no specific number. Like,
There shouldn't. It should just be you need to maximize growth and as fast as you can. Hamza, my co-founder, again, he just signed an agreement with someone, and they've already reached out to more than 1,000 academies over the last 5 years. If all 1,000 sign up, amazing. If they don't, maybe 100 will sign up.
okay.
It's fine. And the more they sign up, the bigger our capacity gets.
Yeah.
Right? We're just gonna keep going.
Like, sorry, what's the barrier for you to scale the value that created? Like, what's the main challenge?
I'm gonna let Gabriel start on that one.
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned limitations and capabilities, because I started Cricket Strat building it for general cricket use. So for usual T20 tournaments, leagues, games, and all of that. And I recently had a call with Hamza saying that this platform will be used for another format. So I guess my limitation is how would we apply it for other inaugurated tournaments that would possibly exist in the next 5 years. So as much as possible, we will try to build upon that, everything as much as possible, so that we can cater to any format, any tournament, as much as they need us as well. So we plan to solve their problems even though they have little discrepancies in the formats that they play. At the end of the day, it's cricket, and it's what basically unites a lot of nations.
Okay. So I think that all of your answers last.
So remember two things. Number one, tokens. The more tokens we have, the faster we can go, the rate limits. And number two, I would say, at least if you look at it from B2B lens, specifically in Qatar, the issue is it's very hard to get in the door and speak to someone unless someone who knows them gets us in the room.
Okay.
If you're, in better words, QSTP needs to do a better job in putting us in the right rooms. There's only so much we can do. If that happens, we can even go faster.
Okay, I agree with you. But I want to hear from you, like, do you see collecting such data we discussed today? If I engage in the journey with you, and I'm educating myself about what you are doing, do you see yourself, like, interested in it on the long term? To have, like, weekly meetings with this, engaging in discussions like this, to collect the data we just discussed, for people to see it on your platform, QSTP, visualizing it, like, for everyone to see.
From a marketing point of view, I would say, in a nutshell, yes, but I don't mean this as a disrespect to the interview style, but I feel like it's very one-dimensional. I feel like it's a skeleton that we're forced to fit our vision around.
I don't want to, I want to see your skeleton and I will
Yeah.
fit myself in it.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
feel like
said.
if we
That's
do
what I said.
something like
That's
that,
what I said, yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
merged
Yeah.
into our vision, or we're not forced to give a number where we don't feel we're ready or it's inaccurate of the
Yeah.
picture that we're trying to paint. I feel like definitely that would also be something good for us to look back at,
Yeah.
I don't know, in a year's time and say, this is what we planned out to do, this is what was set out, this is what we achieved, how can we learn from this?
So this stage is forecast enough for now. And I would like to hear from you how, like, what do you like to measure? And that was, we will support you in this way.
Okay.
So I don't want to impose on you any impact metric.
Right.
It's you who define the impact.
Okay.
And it's our role to support you in measuring it, or visualizing it.
Right.
That's the purpose of this. So what about yourself? Be honest about it.
Everyone's a free man here, so everyone holds their own opinion. For me, no.
You don't want to
No.
engage it.
It's just noise. I'm good. We track our numbers, we do everything that needs to be done. Unless there's something you can prove that will allow us to go faster in terms of building and selling, there's no point.
Okay. If I do this, you'll be interested.
Sure.
If it's something that.
If it's an initiative that allows us right now, not in 5 years' time, to get sales, let's do it. But if it's not, then it doesn't matter. Because again, if you go to a client and you tell them QSTP is measuring our impact, they're not gonna buy you. They're not gonna even care. They don't care.
We want to give you this data so you can show them that this because we know this data can give you like.
I mean, no one cares. Clients don't care. All they care about are two things: how good you are and what's the price.
Okay.
If those are the two things you can help us in, we can do it.
But I told you, like, it helps you to sell faster and move faster. That you will be.